Alright, fellas, quick disclaimer. Teddy's right below me licking his balls, and there's another dog upstairs. So, odds are there's going to be some barking or just something. There's going to be some noise in this podcast, but I wanted to get this up quick because of article topics that are popping up on my site, on other sites, and trends in society. And it's important to be both self-aware. Teddy, fuck off. Hey, it's important to be self-aware and aware of what's going on in society. You have to know the trends. You have to know where society is headed, and how you are going to be affected by that or not affected by that. Okay, so we'll get started. We're going to focus on five kind of trends in society. Society's becoming more this, and why you can't go with society in this direction if you want to be a man, for one, and if you want to win. The point of life is to win. We all have different definitions of winning. Sometimes we have the wrong definition of winning. If we think winning is just getting money, we're not going to win because we're not going to be happy. We're going to have more possessions that own us rather than us owning them. We're not going to have the freedom we really want. Money and accomplishment, however, are very important aspects of winning, but there's more to it than just that. So you have your own definition of winning. It's going to change over your lifetime, but regardless, you can't go with society as it's heading in these directions. The first one is very important. Society's becoming more sensitive. That's insanely apparent, and you can't go with society in this direction because the sensitivity isn't sensitive to other people's feelings. It's almost a sensitivity. Hold on one sec. Teddy, come. Get in there. Like I said, it's minus 25 out right here in Calgary, and the dogs go out for like a minute and then come right back, so they don't get the exercise they want. Okay, so sensitivity. We're becoming a more sensitive society, but it's not a good sensitivity. It's a hypersensitivity. It's political correctness. It's dividing more than it's joining us together. But more than that, it's halting progress. It's halting the individual's learning, like college campuses where they now have safe spaces in different areas where you're free from opposing ideas because they may feel hurtful or harmful, where they actually have a fucking list of microaggressions, whatever the fuck that is. But you can't call people by male, female. You can't make any assumptions about who they are, what they are, whatever. It's just insane. You cannot have a regular conversation in some of these college campuses, and that's because our society's becoming so bloody sensitive. It makes sense because our lives, in comparison to how our lives have been in the last, I don't know, like 5,000 years, this is the easiest our lives have ever been by far. And I just want to make one quick quote on this change in this sensitivity movement. It's by Waller Newell. It says, the major break in the understanding of manliness is not between, say, the 19th century and any particular preceding era, but between my generation of baby boomers and the entire proceeding complex of teachings. In some ways, Teddy Roosevelt and Churchill have more in common with Homer and Shakespeare than they do with us. I completely agree with that. We've had manliness. Manliness has built civilizations. It's led homes, tribes. It's been men who are self-reliant and dependent upon. We've had this for our entire existence up until the last since the 70s, since like kind of postmodernism and hippies and these radical left ideas that have no rooting in science or logic, and like the 30 genders now in New York by law. You have to call people by whatever the hell they want to be called, even if it's not real. Like that stuff. That can only come from a society that doesn't have strong men as its leaders. So, back to the individual. As society becomes more sensitive, you have to avoid that trend. You have to be open to other people's ideas, even those stupid ideas. Be open to other people's ideas. Don't get offended by someone saying something about you, something about who you are, your race, your religion, anything. Be open and never get offended. I've never heard anyone I respect say the words "I'm offended." It just doesn't happen. Or they don't say that's offensive. Teddy, come here. Men don't say that shit. We don't get offended. We listen to different ideas. We tell them if they're wrong or right. But you're not going to be offensive and win. You're not going to be offended and win. You're not going to be able to manage people if you're constantly get offended. You're not going to be able to speak the truth if you're an offended human. So as society becomes more sensitive, don't go along that route. It's a dangerous trap that'll leave you the victim of microaggressions, whatever the fuck they want to call them, and other people are just going to go on living their lives. So you're going to be the one that loses in the end. So if you're a college kid, pay attention to that. Don't become one of these hypersensitive, safe-spaced little cowards. To go on with that, number 2, society's becoming more polarized. We have liberals, conservatives, blacks, whites, gun owners, non-gun owners. There's all these different areas of our lives where we are becoming more polarized. Don't get caught in this. Be open to different ways of living and different ideas. Even if they're wrong, at least try to find some logic in them. And the only way I know how to do this is to travel, to get out of your bubble. That includes nature, but also seeing lots of different people. The thing is with travel is, one sec. With travel, I was probably a little liberal leaning when I was a kid. What is the saying? I think Churchill said it. If you're not liberal when you're young, you don't have a heart. If you're not a conservative when you're older, you don't have any money. Conservatism, or it's not even, a conservative twist on things. I didn't change because of making money. It wasn't an economic thing. It was traveling, seeing the world, seeing what works and seeing what doesn't. But at the same time, you got to go into these trips, you got to go into these relationships, into these meetings and whatnot, and you have to be open. You can't not shut someone down simply because a label determines that you should disagree with them. Don't be polarized. It's not gonna, this polarization that's happening, and it's happening a lot from the radical left. It's not all liberals, it's not all conservatives, but and the media is involved in this stuff. As everyone gets more polarized, stay open, always be learning. Understand that you have something to learn from every single person on the planet. It's a great way to live, and it's true. Everyone's got something to teach you. Even if they're teaching you by how dumb they are or their mistakes or whatever, they still have something to teach you. Which brings us to the next one. Society's becoming less masculine. Be overtly masculine. Who cares what other people say? If you want to shoot guns, if you want to go on adventures, if you have an idea of what you think it is to be a man and a good man, live that life. Theodore Roosevelt's a very good example because he was born sickly and weak. His old man was his kind of archetype, it's who he looked up to. And when it was time for him to set out on his own, he didn't do what someone in his position normally did. And he was a rich kid. He grew up extremely wealthy. Most people would have rested on their laurels, would have taken a job within the family, would have gone directly into politics, would have whatever. he had an idea of what it was to be a man. A man served his country. In his mind, I think a man serves his country. I haven't done that, so that's a stain on my record. But he thought a man fought the elements and fought his fears. So heading out west, starting a ranch, and doing things that he was terrified of bears, terrified of gunslingers, terrified of all these different things, but getting into his fears was a part of what he thought a man was. So he actually spent his life trying to be not just a better man, but better at being a man. And our society is getting, we have less guys who know what it is to be good at being men. You protect, provide, and procreate. So as society becomes less manly, less masculine, turn your back on that trend. We're going to need more masculine men as the world changes, and if we if we have to fight a war with the college kids right now, and those are our soldiers, we're fucked. So as society becomes less masculine, seek out archetypes, seek out ideals, and move in the direction that you think those ideals would move. This isn't me telling you what a man is. Just do your own research, create your own ideas. And even if it's overt things like smoking stogies and drinking beers with pals and getting in fights here and there and that stuff, it's good to do it. Men are barbaric by nature. It's those barbaric qualities that build empires. So, yeah, as society becomes more sensitive, more polite, more whatever, you're going to have to play a role in society, but also do manly shit. Two more. Then they're both very tied together, closely tied together. Society's becoming far more materialistic and more vain. It's almost like value in our society is dependent on a like or an opinion of someone else or the envy of someone else. It's like we feel good about ourselves if we have things that other people want. And the reality is that they're things. They are utterly useless. I have been in this trap. If I have something that I want to do, if I have something that I want to buy, there's an emotional connection. Oh, that fits who I want to be. But then if you get in the habit of stepping back and be like, oh, does it really? Of course it doesn't. It's a thing. It's a material. It's a possession. If you go down that road, if you go down the sensitive, the polarized, the masculine, the materialistic, and the vain roads, if you become sensitive, if you think that everything in this world is about possessions, if you think that everything in life is a matter of looks, if you think that how you look is more important than who you are, and if you're a pussy at the same time as all of those trends, obviously society's becoming more masculine and more pussified. If you add all those trends together and you're weak because of them, you cannot win. You're gonna be dependent. You're not gonna be self-reliant. You're not gonna be able to provide for, protect, and for your family, your tribe, whatever. And that's how a lot of society's going. As a guy, you just have to be aware of that stuff, and don't get caught in the trends of society. Don't get caught in the traps of society. Materialism's a trap. Being vain is a trap. When you think that your value as a man is dependent on you having something, you're a sucker. You're going to go out, you're going to give all your hard-earned money to buy a thing. And you're going to get that thing, and it's not going to give you what you want. It's not going to give you the meaning you want. That's not how life works. It's who you are, not what you have, that matters. So that's a quick podcast. That's all I wanted to say. 5 trends of society and where they're headed, or where society is headed, and where you should head in relation to those. We'll try to get an article up along with this as well, but that's it. Podcast, we have a newsletter for the podcast. Sign up to that below, and we'll let you know every time the podcast is up. I think we're getting on the schedule of filming them Wednesdays, publishing them Mondays. So if you like the podcast, give it a share. Hope you're doing well. And man up. Take care.